Imagine being surrounded by tigers while you're alone and crying. That was the fate of a boy on an ordinary day. Under the starlit sky of the African savannah, 6-year-old Ethan traveled with his parents during a photographic expedition. His parents, renowned wildlife documentarians, had accepted an invitation to explore a private reserve in southeastern Africa. The journey presented a unique opportunity to document a controversial initiative, the reintroduction of Asian tigers into a protected area as part of an experimental conservation project. Although tigers weren't native to Africa, the project aimed to establish a new population in a controlled ecosystem, taking advantage of the area's prey abundance and isolation. If this story caught your attention, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give it a like. Let us know which city you're watching us from. Let's keep going. That day, everything seemed normal. Ethan watched curiously as his parents adjusted their cameras and took photos of the stunning landscape. However, something made them tense. Nervous whispers and hurried glances between them made Ethan sense that something was wrong. Without explanation, he was placed in the back of the vehicle while his parents discussed with the local guide, who seemed equally uneasy. Before he could understand what was happening, the sound of high-speed tires and the roaring engine echoed across the plain, leaving him alone in the middle of nowhere. With only his stuffed tiger in hand, Ethan looked around, trying to comprehend the situation. The wind carried the sounds of the savannah, distant bird calls, rustling leaves, and in the distance a deep roar that made his heart race. The boy started walking, his feet stumbling on loose rocks as he tried to find any sign of his parents. As night fell, fear and exhaustion began to overwhelm Ethan. He found refuge beside a large rock where, with tears streaming down his face, he held his stuffed toy tightly against his chest. That's when he noticed movement around him. He could hear soft footsteps and deep breathing before seeing bright eyes emerge from the darkness. They were tigers. A group of 5 animals emerged from the shadows, led by an enormous male with distinctive stripes and scars along his body. Ethan froze, unable to move or look away. The male, whom Ethan would later call Raja, approached slowly, tilting his head as if evaluating the boy. To Ethan's surprise, the great tiger sat before him, emitting a low sound, almost a purr. The other tigers followed, surrounding Ethan in an almost protective manner. The boy, though still frightened, felt a strange comfort in the animals' presence, as if they could understand him. In the following days, Ethan began to follow the pack. He observed the tigers hunting, resting, and communicating through gestures and sounds that he started to understand. The connection between him and Raja became especially strong, with the great tiger often keeping him close to the group. Despite the hostile environment, Ethan began to feel part of that unlikely family. But the tranquility was interrupted when gunshots echoed across the savannah. The tigers immediately dispersed, moving silently while Ethan, confused, followed them. Later, he found human traces, crude traps, tracks on the ground, and a radio left behind. Not knowing what it was, but instinctively believing it was important, he kept it with him. As darkness embraced the savannah once again, Ethan huddled closer to Raja, the massive tiger's presence offering a sense of security that seemed impossible just days before. The stars above painted patterns across the sky, reminding him of the first night everything changed. Yet now, surrounded by these magnificent creatures, his fear had transformed into something else, a deep connection with beings he'd only known through stories and his stuffed toy. One day, while following Raja, Ethan came across one of the younger tigers caught in a trap. The animal roared in pain, but Ethan lacked the strength to free it. It was then that a man appeared, Peter Hughes, a British conservationist who led the reserve's protection efforts. Peter was surprised to find the boy, but acted quickly to free the tiger. After much insistence, Ethan was convinced to accompany him to the reserve's central camp. The days with the tiger pack had taught Ethan much about their behavior. He had learned to interpret their various sounds and movements, understanding when they were hunting, resting, or alerting each other to potential dangers. Raja, the magnificent scarred leader, had taken a particular interest in the boy, often positioning himself nearby when Ethan slept and keeping a watchful eye during their daily movements through the savannah. The connection between Ethan and the tigers had grown stronger with each passing day. He observed their hunting techniques, noting how they communicated through subtle tail movements and soft vocalizations. The other tigers in the group, a younger female with distinctive markings along her face, two adolescent males who often played together, and an older female who seemed to watch over the group, had all accepted Ethan's presence, treating him as an unusual but welcome addition to their family. Their daily routine had fallen into a natural rhythm. At dawn, the group would move through their territory, stopping at water sources where Ethan learned to drink alongside them. During the hot afternoons, they would rest in shaded areas, the tigers' bodies providing warmth when the temperature dropped at night. Ethan had even begun to recognize different areas of their territory, marked by distinctive trees, rocks, and waterholes. The boy had discovered that the tigers were remarkably gentle with him, despite their fierce reputation. They seemed to understand his vulnerability, often adjusting their pace to match his smaller steps and waiting for him when he needed to rest. This understanding went beyond mere tolerance. It was a genuine bond that had formed between species. However, the presence of human threats had become increasingly evident. Before encountering Peter, Ethan had noticed strange marks in their territory, footprints that didn't belong to the reserve's staff, unusual objects left behind, and the occasional sound of vehicles in the distance. The radio he had found proved to be particularly intriguing, occasionally crackling with voices speaking in hushed tones. The young tiger's entrapment had marked a turning point. Seeing the animal in pain had awakened something in Ethan, a fierce protectiveness toward his adopted family. When Peter appeared, Ethan's initial instinct had been to run, but the sight of the conservationist working quickly and carefully to free the tiger had changed his mind. Peter's gentle approach and obvious concern for the animal's welfare had shown Ethan that not all humans posed a threat to his newfound family. Peter's expertise in handling the situation was evident. He had approached the trapped tiger with calm authority, speaking in soft tones while working to release it. His actions demonstrated years of experience in wildlife conservation, and his immediate acceptance of Ethan's presence among the tigers showed an understanding of the extraordinary situation. The conservation camp that Peter invited Ethan to was a revelation. Tents and small buildings housed equipment and personnel dedicated to protecting the reserve's wildlife. Maps covered the walls, showing the territories of various animals, including the special zone designated for the Tiger Reintroduction Project. The camp represented everything Ethan's parents had believed in, the possibility of humans and wildlife coexisting through understanding and protection. As Ethan reluctantly prepared to leave his tiger family for the camp, Raja had watched from the distance, his powerful presence a reminder of the unique bond that had formed. The great tiger's eyes seemed to hold an understanding that this wasn't goodbye, but rather the beginning of a new chapter in their extraordinary relationship. Peter, observing this interaction, recognized that he had stumbled upon something unprecedented, a bridge between the human and animal world that could prove crucial to the tiger's survival. The sun was setting as they arrived at the camp, casting long shadows across the savannah. Ethan kept looking back, knowing that somewhere in the gathering darkness, his tiger family was watching, waiting, and perhaps understanding that their paths would soon cross again in ways none of them could yet imagine. At the central camp, Ethan shared his extraordinary experiences with Peter and his team. The young boy's detailed accounts of living with the tigers left the experienced conservationists astounded. His descriptions of their behaviors, movements, and social interactions provided invaluable insights into how the Asian tigers were adapting to their African environment. The radio Ethan had found proved to be a crucial piece of evidence. As Peter's team examined it, they discovered it was picking up transmissions from poachers who had infiltrated the reserve. These individuals were targeting the tigers, seeking their pelts and bones for the illegal wildlife trade. Peter, already aware of the threat, realized that Ethan's unique connection with Raja and the other tigers could be instrumental in understanding their movements and protecting them more effectively. The conservation camp became a hub of activity, with researchers and rangers working tirelessly to monitor the reserve. Large maps covered the walls of the main tent, marked with different colored pins indicating tiger sightings, suspected poacher activities, and safe zones. Ethan spent hours studying these maps, recognizing locations where he had traveled with the tiger family. As the days passed, Ethan began to adapt to life in the camp. The team welcomed him warmly, amazed by his ability to understand and interpret tiger behavior. He would sit with the researchers, describing the subtle changes in Raja's vocalizations that indicated different emotions or intentions. His observations about the tiger's hunting patterns, preferred resting spots and communication methods provided new perspectives that even experienced scientists found valuable. Peter took special interest in Ethan's knowledge, often sitting with him during meals to learn more about his time with the tigers. The conservationist had spent years studying big cats, but Ethan's first-hand experience living among them offered insights that no traditional research could provide. The boy's description of how the tigers had accepted him into their group, particularly his special bond with Raja, challenged everything Peter thought he knew about these magnificent predators. The camp's daily routine revolved around protecting the reserve and its inhabitants. Rangers would patrol the boundaries, checking for signs of intrusion or suspicious activity. Scientists collected data on the tigers' adaptation to their new habitat, monitoring everything from their hunting success to their territorial marking patterns. Ethan began joining some of these activities, teaching the team to recognize the subtle signs he had learned from his time with the tigers. However, the threat from poachers grew more pressing. The radio regularly crackled with their encoded messages, which the team worked to decipher. Ethan would often sit near the communications equipment, his young ears picking up familiar sounds that reminded him of his time in the wilderness. Sometimes he could hear distant roars that he knew belonged to Raja, and his heart would ache with a mixture of worry and longing. During quiet moments, Ethan would sit at the edge of the camp, clutching his stuffed tiger and looking out over the savannah. He knew his tiger family was out there, moving through their territory, perhaps wondering where their small human companion had gone. Despite the comfort and safety of the camp, part of him yearned to be back with them, sleeping under the stars with Raja's protective presence nearby. Peter noticed these moments of contemplation and understood that Ethan's connection to the tigers went far beyond mere observation. The boy had formed a genuine bond with these animals, particularly with Raja. This unique relationship could prove crucial in their efforts to protect the tigers from those who sought to harm them. As darkness fell each evening, the camp would come alive with the sounds of researchers discussing their findings, rangers reporting their observations, and plans being made for the next day's activities. Ethan would listen intently, absorbing everything he could about the scientific aspects of tiger conservation, while adding his own unique perspectives from his time living with the pack. The boy's presence in the camp had brought a new energy to the conservation efforts. His intimate knowledge of the tiger's behavior, combined with the team's scientific expertise, was creating a more comprehensive understanding of these magnificent creatures. Yet, as Ethan fell asleep each night in his tent, he couldn't shake the feeling that his journey with the tigers was far from over. Something told him that soon, his unique bond with Raja would be tested in ways he couldn't imagine. In the days that followed, Ethan began joining Peter on patrols through the reserve. His unique ability to interpret tiger behavior patterns became an invaluable asset to the conservation team. While experienced rangers relied on traditional tracking methods, Ethan could read subtler signs that indicated where Raja and his family had recently passed or were likely to appear. The radio transmissions they intercepted grew more frequent and concerning. Peter's team worked diligently to decode the messages, piecing together fragments of information about the poachers' movements and intentions. Each new transmission brought a heightened sense of urgency to the camp, as it became clear that the threat to the tigers was escalating. During one particularly tense evening, Ethan sat with Peter in the main tent, poring over maps of the reserve. The boy's finger traced the patterns of movement he had observed while living with the tigers, marking their favorite hunting grounds and resting places. His knowledge proved crucial as the team worked to establish protective measures around these key areas. "See this place?" Ethan pointed to a specific location on the map. "Raja likes to rest here during the hot afternoons. There's a big rock that provides shade, and they can see anyone approaching from far away." Peter carefully noted this information, adding it to their growing database of tiger behavioral patterns. The conservation team began implementing new security measures based on Ethan's insights. They strategically placed camera traps along the routes he identified, capturing valuable footage of the tiger's movements and any suspicious human activity. The boy's understanding of tiger communication also helped the team interpret warning signs that might indicate the presence of intruders in their territory. As they worked, Peter noticed how Ethan's eyes would light up whenever they caught glimpses of Raja and his family through the camera footage. The massive tiger's distinctive scarred body was easily recognizable, and his protective behavior toward the group confirmed everything Ethan had told them about his leadership role. The bond between the boy and the tigers had created an unprecedented opportunity for conservation. Traditional research methods could track movement patterns and study behavior, but Ethan's experience offered something different, an intimate understanding of the tiger's social dynamics and personalities. This knowledge proved invaluable as they worked to protect these magnificent creatures. However, the situation became more complex when they discovered crude traps hidden throughout the reserve. Each new finding reinforced the urgency of their mission. Peter's team worked tirelessly to remove these dangers, while Ethan helped identify areas where the tigers were most likely to encounter them. During their patrols, Ethan would sometimes hear familiar vocalizations in the distance. He could distinguish between Raja's deep, commanding roar and the softer calls of the other tigers. These sounds would bring both comfort and concern. Comfort in knowing his tiger family was nearby, but concern for their safety in the face of mounting threats. The conservation camp buzzed with activity as researchers analyzed data and rangers reported their findings. Maps were constantly updated with new information, marking safe zones, danger areas, and potential poacher entry points. Ethan's contributions helped create a more complete picture of the tiger's world, enabling the team to better protect them. One afternoon, while reviewing recent camera footage, they observed something disturbing. The tiger's movement patterns had changed, suggesting they were avoiding certain areas of their territory. Ethan recognized this behavior. He had seen it during his time with them when they sensed danger. This observation sparked intense discussions among the team about what might be causing this change. Peter and Ethan spent hours discussing these developments, with the boy sharing his intimate knowledge of the tiger's behavior when they felt threatened. His experiences living among them provided crucial context for understanding their reactions to potential dangers. This collaboration between scientific expertise and first-hand experience was creating a new approach to wildlife conservation. As night fell over the camp, Ethan stood at its edge, looking out over the darkening savanna. Somewhere out there, Raja and his family were moving through their territory, perhaps sensing the increasing dangers around them. The boy clutched his stuffed tiger, a reminder of the extraordinary bond he shared with these magnificent creatures, knowing that their safety depended on the success of their conservation efforts. The atmosphere in the conservation camp grew increasingly tense as the poachers became bolder in their activities. Through the intercepted radio transmissions, Peter and his team began to piece together a disturbing pattern of escalating threats. Each day brought new evidence of incursions into the reserve, with more sophisticated traps being discovered during their regular patrols. Ethan's expertise continued to prove invaluable. During one morning patrol, he noticed subtle changes in the environment that others might have missed. Bent grass patterns that didn't match the tiger's usual movements, unfamiliar scents that made him uneasy. These observations led to the discovery of newly laid traps, which the team promptly removed and documented. The radio they had found became their most crucial tool for staying one step ahead of the threats. Peter's team worked around the clock to monitor the transmissions, with Ethan often sitting nearby, his young ears catching nuances in the background sounds that sometimes revealed the poachers' locations. His time in the wilderness had sharpened his senses in ways that continually surprised the experienced conservationists. During one particularly quiet evening, as the camp settled into its nighttime routine, the radio crackled to life with an unusually clear transmission. The message they intercepted sent a chill through the entire team. The poachers were planning something big. They spoke of surrounding Raja's territory with traps and using fire to force the tigers into a confined area. Peter immediately called an emergency meeting in the main tent. Maps were spread across tables as the team discussed potential strategies to counter this imminent threat. Ethan stood silently, his heart racing as he thought about Raja and the others in danger. The poachers' plan would not only endanger the tigers, but could potentially destroy years of conservation work. The team worked late into the night, developing contingency plans and organizing additional patrols. Ethan's knowledge of the tiger's behavior patterns became crucial in predicting how they might react to fire and where they would likely seek refuge. His intimate understanding of their territories helped the team identify potential escape routes and safe zones. As dawn approached, Peter noticed Ethan standing at the edge of camp, his stuffed tiger clutched tightly as he gazed out over the savannah. The boy's connection to these magnificent creatures went beyond mere observation. He had become part of their world, and now that world was under threat. The weight of responsibility seemed to rest heavily on his young shoulders. The next few days saw increased activity throughout the reserve. Rangers reported more frequent signs of human intrusion, and the camera traps captured concerning images of unfamiliar vehicles moving through remote areas at night. The tiger's behavior began to change too. Their movements became more erratic, their territories less defined, as if they sensed the approaching danger. Ethan spent hours with Peter, marking up maps and sharing everything he knew about the tiger's habits. He explained how Raja would lead the group during times of stress, how they communicated danger to each other, and where they were most likely to retreat when threatened. This information became the foundation of their defensive strategy. The radio transmissions grew more frequent and detailed. The poachers were coordinating their efforts, planning to strike from multiple directions. They spoke of using the landscape to their advantage, cutting off escape routes and forcing the tigers into their traps. Each new piece of information added to the team's concern. As the sun set on another tense day, Ethan heard a familiar roar in the distance, Raja's distinctive call echoing across the savannah. The sound carried a different tone than usual, one that Ethan recognized from his time with the tigers. It was a warning call, signaling danger to the rest of the group. The boy looked at Peter, his eyes wide with concern. The conservation team gathered again, reviewing their preparations and finalizing their plans. Maps were updated with the latest intelligence, patrol routes were adjusted, and emergency protocols were put in place. But as they worked, Ethan couldn't shake the feeling that they were running out of time. The poachers were getting closer, their plans more concrete, and somewhere out in the darkness his tiger family was in grave danger. Throughout the night, the camp buzzed with activity. Equipment was checked and rechecked, communication systems were tested, and teams were organized for rapid response. Yet amid all this preparation, Ethan knew that their greatest advantage lay in something that couldn't be marked on any map: his unique bond with Raja and the understanding he had gained during his time with the tigers. As the threat to the tigers became increasingly clear, Ethan found himself torn between the safety of the camp and his deep connection to Raja's group. The radio transmissions had revealed the poachers' detailed plans to surround the territory with traps and use fire as a weapon to drive the tigers out of their safe zones. Time was running out, and conventional methods of protection might not be enough. During an intense strategy meeting while the conservation team discussed various defensive options, Ethan finally spoke up. His voice was quiet but determined, as he presented an idea that made everyone in the tent fall silent. He wanted to go back into the savannah to warn Raja and the other tigers personally. The boy argued that his unique bond with the tigers, especially Raja, could be used to guide them to safety before the poachers could execute their plan. Peter's initial reaction was one of concern. The idea of sending a young boy back into the wilderness, even with his extraordinary connection to the tigers, seemed too risky. However, as Ethan explained his reasoning, drawing from his experiences living with the group, the conservationist began to see the potential in this unconventional approach. "I understand them, Peter," Ethan insisted, his eyes reflecting a wisdom beyond his years. "They trust me. I can lead them away from the traps, show them where it's safe. Raja will listen to me." He described how the great tiger had protected him during his time with the group, how they had developed a system of communication through subtle gestures and sounds. The conservation team listened intently as Ethan detailed his plan. He explained how he could use his knowledge of the tiger's behavior to guide them to secure areas within the reserve. His time with them had taught him their preferred paths, their hunting grounds, and most importantly, how they responded to different types of threats. Peter paced the tent, weighing the risks against the potential benefits. The poacher's plan was sophisticated and dangerous. They weren't just setting traps anymore. They were planning to manipulate the environment itself against the tigers. Traditional protective measures might not be enough to counter such an aggressive strategy. After hours of discussion and careful consideration, Peter made his decision. He would allow Ethan to return to the tigers, but only under strict conditions. A support team would maintain a safe distance, ready to intervene if necessary. They would equip Ethan with a small tracking device, ensuring they could monitor his location at all times. The preparation for Ethan's mission began immediately. The team studied the latest satellite imagery of the reserve, identifying the most likely locations of Raja's group based on recent sightings and tracking data. They marked safe corridors and potential escape routes, areas where the tigers could find shelter away from the poachers' planned operation. As dawn approached, Ethan stood at the edge of the camp ready to embark on his crucial mission. His stuffed tiger, a symbol of the extraordinary bond he shared with these magnificent creatures, was tucked safely in his small backpack. Peter knelt beside him, making final adjustments to the tracking device and providing last-minute instructions. The morning air was crisp and clear, carrying the familiar sounds of the African savanna. Somewhere in the distance, a deep roar echoed across the plains, Raja's distinctive call as if sensing the approach of his young friend. Ethan's heart raced with a mixture of excitement and determination. He knew the dangers that lay ahead, but his concern for his tiger family outweighed any fear. The support team took their positions, maintaining radio contact with the base camp. Peter watched as Ethan took his first steps back into the wilderness, the boy's small figure moving with surprising confidence through the tall grass. Everything they had learned about the tigers, everything they had prepared for, now rested on the shoulders of this extraordinary child and his remarkable connection with these magnificent creatures. As the sun climbed higher in the sky, Ethan disappeared into the savanna, guided by memories of his time with the tigers and an unwavering determination to protect them. Behind him, the conservation team mobilized, ready to support his mission and face whatever challenges lay ahead in their fight to preserve these remarkable animals. Moving through the familiar terrain of the savanna, Ethan felt a strange mix of comfort and urgency. Every sound, every movement in the grass held new meaning now that he understood the threats facing his tiger family. The tracking device Peter had given him felt light against his chest, a reminder that he wasn't completely alone in this mission. The morning sun cast long shadows across the landscape as Ethan followed the signs he had learned to read during his time with the tigers. Bent grass here, a scratch mark on a tree there. These were the subtle markers that told him Raja's group had passed through recently. His time at the conservation camp had added scientific understanding to his intuitive knowledge, making him even more effective at tracking the tiger's movements. After several hours of careful navigation, Ethan caught his first glimpse of the tigers. Through a gap in the tall grass, he saw the younger female with the distinctive facial markings he remembered so well. She was alert, her ears twitching at every sound, signs of the increasing tension in their territory. When she caught his scent, her reaction surprised even Ethan. Instead of showing caution, she moved toward him with what seemed like relief. Moments later, Raja emerged from the grass. The massive tiger's scarred body was immediately recognizable, and his eyes fixed on Ethan with the same intelligent gaze the boy remembered. Their reunion was a powerful moment. Raja approached slowly, emitting the same deep rumbling purr that had once provided comfort during long nights in the savanna. The rest of the group appeared one by one. The two adolescent males, the older female, all of them remembered Ethan. Their behavior showed signs of stress from the increasing human activity in their territory, but they still recognized and accepted him as part of their family. This trust would be crucial for what he needed to do next. Using the knowledge and understanding he had developed during his time with them, Ethan began to guide the tigers away from the areas he knew were dangerous. He used subtle movements and sounds they understood, leading them toward the safe corridors the conservation team had identified. The tigers, particularly Raja, seemed to sense his urgency and responded to his guidance. The support team maintained their distance, but their presence provided an extra layer of security as Ethan worked to move the tigers to safety. Through the tracking device, they could monitor his progress and adjust their positions to provide the best possible protection. Peter's voice occasionally crackled through the small radio, offering encouragement and updates on the poachers' movements. As they moved through the territory, Ethan could see evidence of the threats they faced, fresh tire tracks in the soil, disturbed vegetation that didn't match animal movements, and most concerning, the subtle signs of newly laid traps. His time at the conservation camp had taught him to recognize these dangers, and he carefully guided the tigers around them. The connection between Ethan and the tigers had grown even stronger during their separation. They moved as one unit through the savannah, with Raja often checking back on him, making sure he was keeping up with the group. The other tigers flanked them protectively, their powerful bodies moving silently through the grass. Their progress was slow but steady, each step taking them further from danger and closer to safety. Ethan's intimate knowledge of both the tigers' behavior and the conservation team's plans helped him choose the best routes, avoiding areas where the poachers were likely to be operating while staying within range of the support team. As the day wore on, the group encountered more signs of human activity in their territory. Each time, Ethan would guide them in a different direction, using his understanding of their communication to keep them calm and focused. The tigers' trust in him remained absolute, even as the situation around them grew more tense. The sun was beginning to set when they reached one of the safe zones identified by the conservation team. Here, natural features of the landscape provided protection, and the area was well within the range of the reserve's security patrols. Ethan knew this was where the tigers needed to stay, at least until the immediate threat had passed. Using all the skills he had learned, both from his time with the tigers and his training at the camp, Ethan worked to help the group settle into their new location. He watched as they began to explore the area, marking their territory and finding secure resting spots. Their behavior showed they felt safe here, which was exactly what he had hoped for. While Ethan had successfully guided the tigers to a safer location, Peter and his team were mobilizing to confront the immediate threat to the reserve. The radio transmissions had become more frequent, indicating that the poachers were moving forward with their plan despite the tigers' unexpected relocation. Peter coordinated with local authorities, sharing the evidence they had gathered through weeks of surveillance. The radio that Ethan had found proved invaluable, providing concrete proof of the poachers' intentions. The conservation team had carefully documented every transmission, creating a detailed record of the planned incursion into the protected area. Through the tracking device, the team maintained constant communication with Ethan, who remained with the tigers in the safe zone. His presence helped keep the animals calm and contained within the protected area, while Peter's team and the authorities prepared to intercept the threats around the reserve's perimeter. The evidence collected was substantial: photos from camera traps showing unauthorized vehicles, recordings of suspicious radio transmissions, and documented locations of illegal traps. This documentation strengthened the case for immediate intervention, allowing the authorities to act with full legal backing. Peter's experience in wildlife conservation proved crucial during these tense moments. He worked closely with law enforcement, sharing his team's knowledge of the reserve's layout and the locations where they had discovered signs of poacher activity. The planned use of fire to drive the tigers was particularly concerning, as it threatened not just the tigers, but the entire ecosystem. The conservation team's preparation was meticulous. They had mapped out all potential entry points into the reserve, positioned monitoring equipment strategically, and established a network of rapid response teams. Years of experience in wildlife protection had taught them the importance of being thorough and coordinated in their approach. From his position with the tigers, Ethan could occasionally hear distant vehicle movements and see flashes of light in the darkness. He stayed close to Raja, whose powerful presence helped calm the other tigers despite the unusual activity around their territory. The great tiger's behavior had changed subtly. He was more alert, more protective of his group, sensing the tension in their environment. The support teams maintained their positions around the safe zone, creating a protective barrier between the tigers and any potential threats. They used thermal imaging equipment to monitor movement in the surrounding area, keeping watch for any signs of unauthorized entry into the protected zone. As dawn approached, the situation reached a critical point. The poachers, unaware that their plans had been discovered, began moving into position around what they thought was the tigers' territory. However, they found themselves confronted by well-prepared conservation teams and local authorities who had used the gathered intelligence to anticipate their movements. The conservation team's response was swift and coordinated. Working with law enforcement, they moved to secure the area and prevent any damage to the reserve. The carefully gathered evidence, combined with the real-time presence of the poachers in the protected area, provided all the justification needed for immediate intervention. Through it all, Ethan remained with the tigers, his presence a calming influence on the group. He could sense their unease at the increased human activity, but his understanding of their behavior helped him keep them settled in the safe zone. Raja stayed particularly close to him, as if recognizing the boy's role in protecting the group. The efforts to safeguard the reserve continued throughout the day. Peter's team worked tirelessly to ensure every aspect of the operation was documented and handled according to proper protocols. Their goal wasn't just to prevent immediate harm to the tigers, but to ensure long-term protection for these magnificent creatures. As the sun began to set on this crucial day, the conservation team could see the results of their careful planning and coordination. Their quick response and thorough preparation had helped prevent what could have been a devastating blow to the experimental conservation project. The tigers remained safe in their protected area, unaware of how close they had come to serious danger. The confrontation with the poachers marked a decisive turning point in the reserve's history. The evidence collected through Ethan's found radio and the conservation team's careful documentation had provided the authorities with everything they needed to take decisive action. The coordinated response between Peter's team and local law enforcement had effectively disrupted the poachers' plans before they could cause any harm to the tigers or the reserve. As the situation unfolded, the value of Ethan's unique connection with the tigers became even more apparent. While the authorities dealt with the immediate threat, the boy's presence kept Raja and his group calm in their safe zone. The great tiger's trust in Ethan had proven crucial, allowing the conservation team to focus on securing the reserve without worrying about the tiger's safety or potential movement. Peter's years of experience in wildlife conservation had prepared him for moments like this, but even he was impressed by how well their planning had paid off. The careful positioning of monitoring equipment, the strategic placement of response teams, and the thorough documentation of all suspicious activities had created an airtight case against those who threatened the reserve. The support teams maintained their vigilant watch around the protected area, where Ethan stayed with the tigers. Through their thermal imaging equipment and regular patrols, they ensured that no unauthorized personnel could approach the sensitive zone. The tigers, though alert to the unusual activity, remained remarkably calm under Ethan's influence. Throughout the operation, the radio continued to provide valuable intelligence. The poachers' communications revealed their confusion and dismay as they discovered their plans had been anticipated and countered at every turn. The conservation team monitored these transmissions carefully, using the information to further strengthen their protective measures. Ethan watched from his position with the tigers as distant figures moved through the landscape. He could see the flashlights of the patrol teams and occasional vehicle movements, but Raja and the other tigers seemed to understand that these particular humans posed no threat. The boy's presence acted as a bridge between the two worlds, helping maintain a delicate balance in this crucial moment. The conservation team's response served as a powerful demonstration of what could be achieved through proper preparation and coordination. Their quick action had not only protected the tigers, but had also preserved the integrity of the experimental conservation project. This success would have far-reaching implications for wildlife protection efforts worldwide. As the day progressed, Peter received regular updates from the authorities about the operation's status. Each report confirmed that their intervention had been timely and effective. The carefully gathered evidence had provided a strong foundation for legal action, ensuring that those who threatened the reserve would face appropriate consequences. From his vantage point with the tigers, Ethan could sense a gradual relaxation in the animals' behavior as the immediate threat subsided. Raja maintained his protective stance, but his posture became less tense. The other tigers began to show signs of returning to their normal routines, though they stayed within the boundaries of the safe zone. The success of the operation validated Peter's faith in combining traditional conservation methods with Ethan's unique abilities. The boy's understanding of tiger behavior had added an invaluable dimension to their protective efforts, creating a model for wildlife conservation that went beyond conventional approaches. As evening approached, the atmosphere in the reserve began to shift. The heightened activity of the confrontation gave way to a more controlled and organized presence of conservation teams and authorized personnel. The immediate crisis had been averted, but everyone understood that their work to protect these magnificent creatures was far from over. The events of the day had demonstrated the effectiveness of their collaborative approach to conservation. Ethan's connection with the tigers, combined with Peter's expertise and the team's professional response, had created a powerful formula for success. This experience would shape the future of the reserve and its innovative approach to wildlife protection. Throughout it all, the tigers remained safe in their protected area, their trust in Ethan unshaken. The bond between the boy and these magnificent animals had proven to be more than just an extraordinary connection. It had become a crucial tool in ensuring their survival and protection. The successful intervention had dramatically changed the landscape of conservation at the reserve. The evidence collected through Ethan's found radio, combined with the extensive documentation gathered by Peter's team, had provided an unshakable foundation for stronger protective measures. The reserve was becoming an international example of successful conservation efforts, demonstrating how innovative approaches could lead to extraordinary results. The aftermath of the confrontation brought significant changes to the reserve's operations. Peter's team expanded their monitoring systems, incorporating the lessons learned from their recent experience. The combination of traditional conservation methods and the insights gained through Ethan's unique connection with the tigers had created a new paradigm for wildlife protection. Ethan's role at the reserve continued to evolve. His unprecedented bond with Raja and the other tigers provided invaluable insights into their behavior and needs. The conservation team began documenting his observations and interactions, creating a unique database of information about how these Asian tigers were adapting to their African environment. The safe zone where Ethan had guided the tigers became a cornerstone of their territory. Raja's group showed clear preference for this area, suggesting that they recognized and appreciated the security it offered. The great tiger's behavior had subtly changed since the confrontation. He seemed more relaxed yet remained vigilantly protective of his family, including Ethan. Peter worked tirelessly to implement enhanced security measures throughout the reserve. The successful protection of the tigers had attracted international attention, bringing additional resources and support to the project. Conservation experts from around the world began visiting the reserve, eager to learn from their innovative approach to wildlife protection. The experimental conservation project had proven its worth beyond initial expectations. The tigers were thriving in their controlled ecosystem, and their presence had created unexpected benefits for the entire reserve. The careful documentation of their adaptation process provided valuable data for other conservation efforts worldwide. Ethan's days were filled with purpose. As he continued to work alongside Peter and the conservation team, his ability to interpret tiger behavior and anticipate their needs had become an integral part of the reserve's operations. The boy's presence served as a living bridge between the human and animal worlds, demonstrating the possibility of meaningful coexistence. The documentation of Ethan's interactions with the tigers became a valuable resource for understanding these magnificent creatures. His observations about their social dynamics, communication methods, and territorial behaviors provided new insights that challenged traditional understanding of tiger behavior. The scientific community began to take notice of this unique case study. Regular patrols and monitoring continued around the clock, but the atmosphere in the reserve had shifted from crisis management to proactive conservation. The team maintained their vigilance, but there was a new confidence in their ability to protect these extraordinary animals. The successful intervention had shown that their comprehensive approach to conservation could effectively counter even serious threats. Through it all, Raja remained a constant presence in Ethan's life at the reserve. The massive tiger's trust in the boy had not wavered, and their bond continued to deepen. Their unique relationship served as a powerful symbol of the reserve's mission, proving that with understanding and protection, humans and wildlife could share a meaningful connection. The conservation team's success story began spreading beyond the reserve's boundaries. Their approach to wildlife protection, combining traditional methods with innovative strategies, was being studied and adapted by other conservation projects. The reserve had become a model for how determination, expertise, and unexpected connections could create powerful results in wildlife conservation. As the sun set on another day at the reserve, Ethan sat near the observation post, watching Raja and his family in their territory. The great tiger's scarred body moved with grace through the tall grass, his presence a testament to the success of their protection efforts. The boy's extraordinary journey from lost child to crucial member of the conservation team had helped create a new chapter in wildlife protection. The reserve's future looked brighter than ever, built on the foundation of their recent success and strengthened by the unique bond between a young boy and a family of tigers. Their story was becoming an inspiration for conservation efforts worldwide, proving that even the most ambitious dreams of wildlife protection could become reality with courage, dedication, and understanding. The reserve's success story quickly captured global attention. The unique approach to conservation, combining Peter's expertise with Ethan's extraordinary connection to the tigers, had created a model that challenged traditional wildlife protection methods. Conservation organizations worldwide began studying their methods, particularly interested in how the bond between Ethan and the tigers had contributed to the project's success. As news of their achievements spread, the reserve became a focal point for international conservation efforts. Experts traveled from across the globe to witness firsthand how Asian tigers had successfully adapted to their African environment. The controlled ecosystem had proven remarkably successful, with the tigers thriving in their new habitat while maintaining a delicate balance with the existing wildlife. The documentation of Ethan's interactions with Raja and his group provided unprecedented insights into tiger behavior. Scientists were particularly fascinated by how the tigers had accepted the boy into their social structure, challenging previous assumptions about these solitary predators. The strong bond between Ethan and Raja became a subject of numerous research papers and studies. Peter's team continued to enhance their protection protocols, incorporating lessons learned from their successful intervention against the poachers. The evidence they had gathered, including the intercepted radio communications, helped establish new standards for wildlife protection. Their methods of combining high-tech surveillance with on-the-ground intelligence became a blueprint for other reserves. The reserve's innovative approach attracted substantial support from international conservation organizations. Additional resources poured in, allowing them to expand their protection measures and research capabilities. The successful integration of Asian tigers into an African ecosystem opened new possibilities for species conservation worldwide. Ethan's role at the reserve evolved as well. His natural ability to understand and interpret tiger behavior became an invaluable asset for researchers studying the animals. The boy's observations about their social dynamics, hunting patterns, and territorial behaviors provided new perspectives on tiger conservation. His presence continued to have a calming effect on Raja's group, allowing for closer observation than had ever been possible before. The safe zone where Ethan had guided the tigers during the crisis became a model for protected areas within wildlife reserves. The strategic placement of monitoring equipment, combined with natural landscape features, created an ideal environment for both protection and observation. Other reserves began implementing similar approaches, adapting the concept to their specific needs. Raja's group continued to thrive under the enhanced protection measures. The great tiger's behavior served as a testament to the success of their conservation efforts. His acceptance of Ethan remained strong, and their interaction provided ongoing insights into the potential for human-wildlife coexistence. Regular visitors to the reserve were amazed by the sight of Ethan moving comfortably among the tigers, especially his special relationship with Raja. The massive tiger's protective behavior toward the boy demonstrated a level of trust that few had thought possible. Their bond became a powerful symbol of the reserve's mission to promote understanding and protection of these magnificent creatures. The scientific community's interest in the reserve's work continued to grow. Research teams conducted extensive studies on how the tigers had adapted to their new environment, their social behaviors, and their interactions with Ethan. The data collected provided valuable insights for other conservation projects worldwide. The success of the experimental conservation project had implications beyond tiger protection. It demonstrated that with proper planning, resources, and innovative approaches, Seemingly impossible conservation goals could be achieved. The reserve's experience provided hope for other endangered species facing similar challenges. As the project gained recognition, the team remained focused on their core mission of protecting the tigers. Each day brought new opportunities to learn from these magnificent creatures, with Ethan's presence continuing to bridge the gap between scientific observation and intimate understanding of tiger behavior. The reserve had become more than a conservation site. It was a living laboratory where the boundaries between humans and wildlife were being redefined. The impact of their work extended far beyond the reserve's boundaries, inspiring a new generation of conservationists and challenging traditional approaches to wildlife protection. The successful integration of Asian tigers into an African ecosystem had opened new possibilities for species conservation, proving that innovative solutions could succeed where conventional methods might fail. The reserve had transformed from a controversial experiment into a shining example of innovative conservation. The successful protection of the tigers, combined with Ethan's extraordinary connection to them, had created a new paradigm for wildlife preservation. What had started as an ambitious and questioned project had evolved into a model that conservation experts worldwide sought to understand and replicate. Peter's leadership had been instrumental in this transformation. His willingness to embrace unconventional approaches, particularly in incorporating Ethan's unique abilities, had challenged traditional conservation methods. The combination of scientific expertise and intuitive understanding had produced results that exceeded all expectations. The documentation of their success became increasingly comprehensive. Researchers carefully recorded every aspect of the tiger's adaptation to their African environment, their social behaviors, and most importantly, their interactions with Ethan. The boy's ability to move safely among the tigers, especially his special bond with Raja, provided unprecedented opportunities for close observation. International conservation organizations regularly sent representatives to study their methods. The reserve's approach to protection, combining advanced technology with deep understanding of tiger behavior, had proven remarkably effective. The successful intervention against poachers had demonstrated the strength of their security protocols and the value of their innovative strategies. Raja's group continued to thrive under the reserve's protection. The great tiger's behavior had become a subject of intense study, particularly his relationship with Ethan. Their interaction challenged existing theories about tiger behavior and opened new avenues for understanding these magnificent creatures. The trust between them remained unshaken, providing ongoing insights into the possibilities of human-wildlife coexistence. The safe zones established during the crisis had evolved into permanent features of the reserve. These protected areas, designed with both natural and technological safeguards, provided secure environments for observation and research. The strategic placement of monitoring equipment allowed for continuous study, while maintaining the tiger's privacy and natural behaviors. Ethan's days were filled with purpose as he continued his work with the conservation team. His natural ability to interpret tiger behavior had become an invaluable asset for researchers studying the animals. The boy's observations about their social dynamics, hunting patterns, and territorial behaviors provided new perspectives that enriched scientific understanding. The reserve's success had implications beyond tiger conservation. Their experience demonstrated that with proper planning, resources, and innovative approaches, seemingly impossible conservation goals could be achieved. Other reserves began adapting their methods, applying the lessons learned to protect different species in various environments. The scientific community's interest in the project remained strong. Research teams conducted extensive studies on various aspects of the tiger's adaptation, their social behaviors, and their interactions with humans, particularly through Ethan's unique relationship with them. The data collected continued to provide valuable insights for conservation efforts worldwide. Regular visitors to the reserve were consistently amazed by the sight of the tigers moving comfortably through their territory, particularly when Ethan was present. The boy's ability to understand and communicate with these powerful creatures had become legendary in conservation circles. His presence served as a living demonstration of the potential for meaningful connection between humans and wildlife. The protection protocols developed during the crisis had evolved into comprehensive security measures. The team maintained constant vigilance, using both technology and human expertise to ensure the tiger's safety. Their success in preventing poaching attempts had made the reserve a model for wildlife protection. As the project's reputation grew, so did its influence on conservation practices worldwide. The reserve had become a training ground for new approaches to wildlife protection, challenging traditional methods and demonstrating the value of innovative thinking. Their success story inspired other conservation projects to explore new possibilities in their own work. The impact of their achievements extended far beyond the immediate goals of tiger conservation. They had shown that with determination, expertise, and openness to unconventional approaches, even the most ambitious conservation projects could succeed. The reserve had become a symbol of hope for endangered species protection worldwide. The reserve's success had ripple effects throughout the conservation world. Their innovative approach to tiger protection, combining traditional methods with Ethan's unique connection to the animals, had created a new framework for wildlife conservation. The project that many had initially questioned was now receiving international acclaim for its groundbreaking results. Conservation experts studied every aspect of their operation, from the sophisticated monitoring systems to the unconventional integration of Ethan's natural abilities. The boy's extraordinary relationship with Raja and his group had opened new possibilities for understanding tiger behavior. His insights, combined with scientific observation, provided a more complete picture of these magnificent creatures than had ever been possible before. Peter's team continued to refine their methods, incorporating new technologies, while maintaining the personal connection that had proven so crucial to their success. The evidence they had gathered during the crisis, including the intercepted radio communications, had helped establish new standards for wildlife protection. Their comprehensive approach to security had become a model for reserves worldwide. Raja's group thrived under the enhanced protection measures. The great tiger's behavior, particularly his interaction with Ethan, challenged conventional wisdom about human-wildlife relationships. Their bond remained strong, providing ongoing opportunities for research and observation. The trust between them had become legendary in conservation circles, inspiring new approaches to wildlife study. The safe zones within the reserve had evolved into sophisticated research areas, combining natural protection with strategic monitoring capabilities. These spaces allowed for close observation while maintaining the tiger's natural behaviors. Other reserves began implementing similar concepts, adapting the design to their specific needs and environments. Ethan's role continued to expand as his understanding of the tigers deepened. His ability to interpret their behavior and anticipate their needs provided invaluable insights for researchers. The boys' observations about their social dynamics, communication methods, and territorial patterns enhanced scientific understanding of tiger behavior in ways that traditional research alone could not achieve. The success of the experimental conservation project had far-reaching implications. It demonstrated that with innovative thinking and proper support, even the most ambitious conservation goals were achievable. The successful integration of Asian tigers into an African ecosystem opened new possibilities for species preservation worldwide. International support for the reserve grew steadily as their achievements became widely known. Conservation organizations provided additional resources for research and protection, recognizing the value of their groundbreaking approach. The project had become a symbol of hope for endangered species conservation, proving that unconventional methods could succeed where traditional approaches might fail. The scientific community's interest in the reserve's work remained strong. Research teams conducted extensive studies on various aspects of the tiger's adaptation and behavior, particularly their unique relationship with Ethan. The data collected contributed significantly to global understanding of tiger conservation and wildlife protection strategies. Regular visitors to the reserve witnessed firsthand the extraordinary results of their work. The sight of Ethan moving confidently among the tigers, especially his special connection with Raja, demonstrated the potential for positive human-wildlife interaction. Their relationship challenged preconceptions about the limitations of wildlife conservation. The protection protocols developed during the crisis had evolved into comprehensive security measures. The team maintained constant vigilance, using both technology and human expertise to ensure the tiger's safety. Their success in preventing poaching attempts had established new standards for wildlife protection worldwide. As the project's influence grew, its impact on global conservation practices became increasingly evident. The reserve had become a training ground for innovative approaches to wildlife protection, challenging traditional methods and demonstrating the value of combining scientific expertise with intuitive understanding. Their success story inspired other conservation projects to explore new possibilities in their own work. The significance of their achievements extended far beyond the immediate goals of tiger conservation. They had shown that with dedication, expertise, and openness to unconventional approaches, seemingly impossible conservation goals could be realized. The reserve had become a beacon of hope for endangered species protection worldwide. The reserve's pioneering approach to conservation had established new standards for wildlife protection worldwide. What had begun as an experimental project to introduce Asian tigers into an African ecosystem had evolved into a comprehensive model for species preservation. The unique combination of scientific expertise and Ethan's extraordinary connection with the tigers had created a legacy that would influence conservation efforts for generations to come. As the project's reputation grew, conservation organizations from around the world sought to understand and replicate its success. The reserve became a living laboratory where traditional scientific methods merged with innovative approaches to wildlife protection. The presence of Ethan, with his remarkable ability to interact with the tigers, particularly Raja, provided unprecedented opportunities for research and observation. Peter's team continued to refine their protection protocols, incorporating lessons learned from their successful intervention against poachers. The evidence they had gathered, including the crucial radio transmissions, had helped establish robust security measures that other reserves began to adopt. Their comprehensive approach to wildlife protection had become a blueprint for conservation projects worldwide. The safe zones within the reserve served as models for protected areas in other conservation projects. These carefully designed spaces, combining natural features with strategic monitoring capabilities, provided secure environments for both the tigers and researchers. The success of these zones demonstrated the effectiveness of integrating traditional knowledge with modern technology. Ethan's role at the reserve had evolved into something truly unique. His natural ability to understand and interpret tiger behavior, combined with his special bond with Raja, continued to provide valuable insights for researchers. The boy's observations about tiger social dynamics, communication patterns, and territorial behaviors enhanced scientific understanding in ways that conventional research alone could not achieve. The scientific community maintained its intense interest in the project. Research teams conducted extensive studies on various aspects of the tiger's adaptation to their African environment, their social behaviors, and most significantly, their interactions with Ethan. The data collected contributed to a deeper understanding of tiger behavior and conservation strategies. Regular visitors to the reserve witnessed the extraordinary results of their innovative approach. The sight of Ethan moving confidently among the tigers, especially his unique relationship with Raja, demonstrated the potential for positive human-wildlife interaction. Their bond had become a powerful symbol of the possibilities in wildlife conservation. The protection measures developed during the crisis had evolved into sophisticated security protocols. The team maintained constant vigilance, using both advanced technology and human expertise to ensure the tiger's safety. Their success in preventing poaching attempts had set new standards for wildlife protection worldwide. As the project's influence grew, its impact on global conservation practices became increasingly evident. The reserve had become a training ground for innovative approaches to wildlife protection, challenging traditional methods and demonstrating the value of combining scientific expertise with intuitive understanding. Their success story inspired other conservation projects to explore new possibilities in their own work. The significance of their achievements extended far beyond the immediate goals of tiger conservation. They had shown that with dedication, expertise, and openness to unconventional approaches, seemingly impossible conservation goals could be realized. The reserve had become a beacon of hope for endangered species protection worldwide. Each day brought new opportunities for learning and growth. The tigers continued to thrive in their controlled ecosystem, their successful adaptation providing hope for similar projects worldwide. The bond between Ethan and Raja remained strong, serving as a constant reminder of the extraordinary possibilities that arise when human understanding meets wildlife conservation. The impact of their work resonated throughout the conservation community. Other reserves began implementing similar approaches, adapting the lessons learned to their specific circumstances. The success of the experimental project had opened new avenues for species preservation, challenging traditional assumptions about what was possible in wildlife conservation. As sunset painted the African sky in brilliant colors, Ethan sat near the observation post watching Raja and his family move through their territory. The great tiger's scarred body was a testament to survival, his presence a symbol of hope for conservation efforts worldwide. Their story had become more than just a successful experiment. It was a blueprint for the future of wildlife protection. Years after the dramatic events that had shaped the reserve's future, Ethan had become a living symbol of the possibility of coexistence between humans and nature. His extraordinary journey from a lost child in the African savannah to a crucial figure in wildlife conservation had inspired people around the world. The bond he shared with Raja and the tiger family had transformed not only his life, but also the way people thought about wildlife protection. The reserve had become more than just a successful conservation project. It was a testament to the power of understanding and connection. Ethan's ability to bridge the gap between human and animal worlds had challenged conventional wisdom about wildlife conservation. His natural insight into tiger behavior, combined with the scientific expertise of Peter's team, had created a revolutionary approach to species protection. Visitors from across the globe came to witness the extraordinary relationship between Ethan and the tigers, particularly his special bond with Raja. The massive tiger's acceptance of the boy continued to amaze researchers and conservationists alike. Their interaction provided ongoing insights into the potential for meaningful coexistence between humans and wildlife. The success of the experimental conservation project had far-reaching implications. The introduction of Asian tigers into an African ecosystem had proven not only possible, but tremendously successful. The controlled environment had allowed the tigers to thrive while maintaining a delicate balance with the existing wildlife. This achievement opened new possibilities for species conservation worldwide. Ethan's role at the reserve had evolved as he grew older, but his connection to the tigers remained as strong as ever. His understanding of their behavior and needs continued to provide valuable insights for researchers and conservation experts. The combination of his intuitive knowledge and the team's scientific approach had created a model for wildlife protection that others sought to emulate. The documentation of their success had grown into a comprehensive resource for conservation efforts worldwide. Research teams studied every aspect of the project, from the sophisticated security measures to the unique relationship between Ethan and the tigers. Their experience provided hope and guidance for other ambitious conservation projects around the world. The safe zones established within the reserve had become models of protected wildlife areas. The careful integration of natural features with modern monitoring technology created secure environments where the tigers could live naturally while remaining protected. Other reserves began implementing similar approaches, adapting the concept to their specific needs and circumstances. Peter's team continued to refine and improve their methods, incorporating new technologies while maintaining the personal connection that had proven so crucial to their success. The evidence they had gathered during the crisis, including the intercepted radio communications, had helped establish new standards for wildlife protection. Their comprehensive approach to security had become a blueprint for reserves worldwide. Each day brought new opportunities for learning and understanding. The tigers continued to thrive in their controlled ecosystem, their successful adaptation providing hope for similar projects worldwide. The bond between Ethan and Raja remained strong, serving as a constant reminder of the extraordinary possibilities that arise when human understanding meets wildlife conservation. As Ethan moved through the reserve, his presence had a calming effect on the tigers. Years of interaction had created a deep mutual understanding between them. His ability to interpret their behavior and anticipate their needs had become legendary in conservation circles, inspiring a new generation of wildlife protectors. The impact of their work extended far beyond the reserve's boundaries. Other conservation projects began adopting their methods, adapting the lessons learned to their specific circumstances. The success of their experimental project had opened new avenues for species preservation, challenging traditional assumptions about what was possible in wildlife conservation. The scientific community continued to study and document their achievements. Research teams conducted extensive studies on various aspects of the tiger's adaptation and behavior, particularly their unique relationship with Ethan. The data collected contributed significantly to global understanding of tiger conservation and wildlife protection strategies. As the African sun set on another day at the reserve, Ethan watched Raja lead his family through their territory. The great tiger's presence was a powerful reminder of the journey they had shared and the impact it had made on wildlife conservation worldwide. Their story had become a beacon of hope, proving that with courage, understanding, and dedication, even the most ambitious dreams of wildlife protection could become reality. Ethan's influence in wildlife conservation had grown far beyond the boundaries of the reserve. His unique experiences had shaped him into a powerful advocate for wildlife protection, leading global efforts to preserve endangered species. The boy who had once found refuge with a family of tigers had become an inspiration for conservation initiatives worldwide. His approach to wildlife protection, combining deep personal understanding with scientific methodology, had revolutionized conservation practices. The success of the Tiger Reintroduction Project had demonstrated that innovative solutions could succeed where traditional methods might fail. Under Ethan's guidance, similar projects began emerging in protected areas around the world. The bond between Ethan and the tigers, particularly Raja, remained at the heart of his conservation philosophy. Their relationship had proven that meaningful connections between humans and wildlife were possible, challenging long-held assumptions about the limitations of conservation efforts. This understanding influenced how new projects approached wildlife protection. Conservation organizations worldwide sought Ethan's input on their initiatives. His unique perspective, shaped by his extraordinary experiences, provided valuable insights for projects facing similar challenges. The lessons learned from the successful protection of the reserve's tigers became the foundation for new conservation strategies. The reserve itself had evolved into a global center for conservation innovation. Researchers and wildlife experts gathered there to study the successful integration of Asian tigers into the African ecosystem. The controlled environment had proven ideal for understanding how endangered species could thrive under proper protection. Ethan's leadership style reflected the patience and understanding he had learned from his time with the tigers. He approached conservation challenges with the same careful observation and intuitive understanding that had helped him connect with Raja's family. This methodology had proven remarkably effective in developing new protection strategies. The documentation of their success continued to provide valuable resources for conservation efforts worldwide. The comprehensive records of the tigers' adaptation, their social behaviors, and their interactions with humans offered insights that benefited other wildlife protection projects. Ethan's personal accounts added depth to the scientific data, creating a more complete understanding of wildlife conservation. Under his guidance, the reserve's protection protocols evolved into sophisticated systems that other facilities began to emulate. The combination of advanced technology and deep understanding of animal behavior created effective barriers against threats while allowing the tigers to live naturally. These methods became standards for wildlife protection worldwide. Each new day brought opportunities to apply the lessons learned from their extraordinary journey. Ethan worked tirelessly to share his knowledge and experiences, helping other conservation projects overcome their challenges. His commitment to wildlife protection inspired a new generation of conservationists to think creatively about preserving endangered species. The scientific community continued to study and document their achievements. Research teams explored various aspects of their success, from the technical details of their security systems to the unique relationships that had developed between humans and tigers. Their findings contributed to a growing body of knowledge about effective wildlife conservation. As Ethan's influence grew, so did the impact of their conservation model. Other reserves began implementing similar approaches, adapting the lessons learned to their specific circumstances. The success of their experimental project had opened new possibilities for species preservation worldwide. The significance of their achievements extended far beyond immediate conservation goals. They had demonstrated that with dedication, understanding, and innovative thinking, seemingly impossible conservation challenges could be overcome. This message resonated with wildlife protection efforts around the globe. Through it all, Raja and his family remained a powerful reminder of where their journey had begun. The great tiger's presence in the reserve was a testament to the success of their protection efforts and a symbol of hope for endangered species worldwide. Their story continued to inspire new approaches to wildlife conservation. Years later, the reserve stood as a testament to what could be achieved when courage met determination. Ethan had grown from a frightened boy lost in the African savannah into a leading figure in global conservation efforts. His extraordinary journey, beginning with that fateful encounter with Raja and his family, had transformed not only his own life, but the entire field of wildlife protection. The experimental conservation project that had once raised eyebrows had become an international model of success. The Asian tigers continued to thrive in their African sanctuary, their presence a living proof that innovative approaches to conservation could succeed. The controlled ecosystem had maintained its delicate balance, demonstrating that with proper protection and understanding, seemingly impossible goals could be achieved. Peter's initial faith in combining traditional conservation methods with Ethan's unique abilities had proven visionary. Their approach had revolutionized how the world thought about wildlife protection. The reserve had become more than just a sanctuary for tigers. It was a symbol of hope for endangered species everywhere. The bond between Ethan and Raja remained as strong as ever, serving as a powerful reminder of their extraordinary beginning. The great tiger, though older now, still moved with grace through his territory, his scarred body a testament to survival. Their relationship continued to challenge conventional wisdom about the possibilities of human-wildlife connection. Under Ethan's leadership, the reserve's influence had spread far beyond its boundaries. Conservation projects worldwide had adopted and adapted their methods, creating a network of protected areas that gave hope to endangered species across the globe. The boy who had once found comfort in a stuffed tiger had grown into a man whose understanding of these magnificent creatures helped shape the future of wildlife conservation. The scientific community continued to study and document their success, but the true measure of their achievement could be seen in the eyes of visitors who witnessed the harmony between humans and tigers at the reserve. Each day brought new opportunities to share their story and inspire others to join the cause of wildlife protection. Their journey had proven that even the greatest challenges could be overcome with courage, dedication, and understanding. The Lost Boy and the Tiger family had written a new chapter in conservation history, showing the world that meaningful coexistence between humans and wildlife was possible. As the sun set on another day at the reserve, Ethan stood at his familiar observation point, watching Raja lead his family through their territory. The sight still filled him with the same wonder he had felt as a child, reminding him of how far they had come and the endless possibilities that lay ahead for wildlife conservation. Dear viewers, you've just witnessed the extraordinary journey of Ethan and Raja, a story that continues to inspire conservation efforts worldwide. Like the delicate balance maintained in our reserve, your support helps us preserve these remarkable stories of hope and courage. Join our growing community of wildlife protectors by subscribing to our channel and leaving a like on this video. Every day, we bring you unique narratives that showcase the incredible connections between humans and wildlife. Your engagement helps spread these messages of conservation and hope to a wider audience. Share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear how this story has touched you. More inspiring tales await in our upcoming videos, each one demonstrating the power of understanding and protection in preserving our natural world.